Um, and very luckily, I was able to find some other decent jobs before entering to CBU. Then with job switching, I came back to my alma mater and continue to work there. I worked previously as enrollment service specialist, and then I switched to marketing. And there I am, meeting every one of you. I know everyone will meet in a lot of institutional recruiter every day. So I'm trying to keep my training session today. No, well, technically not training, it's more like a sharing session today, as sweet and as interesting as possible. I just hope I don't bore you guys out. So without further ado, I'll start my presentation. And by chance, during my presentation, and if you have any urgent questions or concerns that you really need to express, please just leave a comment in the chat box, or you can just interrupt me, unmute yourself anytime and let me know. Feel free to do so. There's like, you don't have to be like being afraid that interrupt me, you won't. Please do interrupt me if you have any questions. So everyone's seeing me slide okay, right? So if there is no one really stop me, I'm just gonna continue. Normally when I introduce Cape Breton University, I'll kind of talk a little bit about Canada, but I guess you guys are very, very familiar with Canadian education system. Unlike our neighbor country, the United States, where most of the elite school in United States are private schools. But whereas in Canada, majority of universities are public funded. And in Canada, we only have 96 universities within our country, because we are a big country, but with a smaller population. So we don't have crazy amount of universities for people to choose. And among these 96 universities, 98% are public funded, meaning that we have fundings from either provincial government or federal government, or regional government. For example, like CBU, we are monitored by Nova Scotia government and Maritime Higher Education Association. And at the end will be by the Education Ministry and federal government of Canada. And that will benefit us to give out a more reasonable and affordable tuition for both domestic student and international student. Although I understand international students are charged almost double the price of a domestic student in terms of tuition. However, in terms of the very favorable currency exchange rate, and compared to a lot of elite school in the United States or Australia or in the UK, our price systems, I think, are fairly affordable and reasonable. And then I'll talk about something about Cape Breton Island. I know not everyone is familiar with our location here. That's okay. I know, I understand that. So Cape Breton Island, it's not a floating island or isolated around the sea. You can see that on the map. This is a map of Nova Scotia, which is a province we're located in. And this giant heart-shaped island is called Cape Breton Island. And you can see that from the map. We're connected with the mainland of Nova Scotia through just a tiny bit of a highway here. And we got our own airport, and I'll talk about that later. So Nova Scotia is the East Coast province of Canada. I know there's another a coastal province that's very familiar, that may be very familiar to everyone in Canada. The other one's British Columbia, where the most giant city there is Vancouver, and everyone knows that. They're on the West Coast. So East Coast, we say about Nova Scotia is because Nova Scotia is the most, how do I say, prosperous and wealthiest province among the Maritimes in Canada. And you can see that we're basically surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. And the fun fact about this is that the flight distance from our province, Nova Scotia, to the UK is actually closer compared when we fly to Vancouver. So we do have a lot of local residents, they are the descendants of like Scottish people or from UK, and we have a German community here. And around the northern part of Cape Breton Island, there's a French community here called Shannon, whereas the majority of residents were the descendants of French from around 200 years ago. Then we talk about why students may want to come to Cape Breton Island to study and stay here. The first is that when you talk about a location that you're going to study overseas for a couple years, besides the school, you want to know about what's the environment and the lifestyle and the general vibe you're living in, right? For Cape Breton Island wise, we are basically ranked by a lot of famous magazine every single year of the best place in North America. For example, Travel and Leisure magazine. This one is very famous magazine in North America. They rank Cape Breton Island as one of the world's most beautiful islands, and we're named one of the best trips and must-see places by the National Geographic magazine. Besides the demographic situation, we offer quality world-class education. Like I mentioned, CBU is a public funded institution, and we're monitored by provincial, regional, and federal governments. So we make sure our quality of delivery is very consistent with all other institutions in Canada. And the other one, the other fun fact you may know about by Google research or just by the general marketing exposure is that Nova Scotia has one of the strongest immigration pathways compared to other provinces in Canada. If students do have the intention to settle down here, apply for permanent residence in Canada after graduation. And for academic-wise, CBU offers a very excellent program range. We have more than 60 areas for students to either major in or minor in. And then we offer very reasonable tuition fees. I'll cite an example so that you guys may have some more ideas. So for example, if a student goes to U of T, University of Toronto, for a 1 year undergraduate study, any program, they are looking to pay around 60,000 Canadian dollar per year for tuition wise. Whereas if you come to CBU for an undergraduate program, you are generally paying around or slightly less than around 20,000 Canadian dollar per year just in the academic wise. And for living cost wise, there's a huge difference in terms of accommodation renting prices. For example, if you are living in downtown Montreal or Vancouver or Toronto, and you're trying to rent a 2-bedroom apartment with your friend, you are looking to pay around 3,000 Canadian dollar per month just for that tiny 2-room apartment to share with your friend. However, compare to that in Cape Breton, the city we're located in is called Sydney, Nova Scotia. Fun fact is that Sydney, Nova Scotia has a longer history than Sydney in Australia. And we are the fourth, entry port or landing port of the Scottish and English people. And then French people came here after that, and they have war. That's why we have both English and French community here within our province. Okay, that's just some side notes. And if you are looking to rent a 2-bedroom apartment here in Nova Scotia, especially within Cape Breton Island, the general price right now is around $1,200 that you are looking to share with your friend. So divided by 2, it will be around $600 to $700 per person for renting a pretty decent 2-bedroom apartment, which will be around 1/3 of the cost compared to some metropolitan cities in Canada. And then we have very pure English-speaking environment. Just like I mentioned, Sydney and Cape Breton area is a slightly smaller community compared to, say, Montreal or Edmonton or Calgary. The population of the greater area of Sydney is about 140,000 people. I know it's not large compared to some of the Asian cities, but it's an okay and medium-sized place or city in Canada. And we don't have that many, immigrants or international students in numbers compared to some other big cities. So students do get to practice and improve their English significantly throughout the years they study and stay here. And besides all these, and students have a passion to say, go around and travel around, they are at the heart of location of the top 1 travel destination in North America. You can see in the picture, we have a port, we call it the Port of Sydney Harbor. This is support that they don't freeze up. And between every year among the middle of the mid-May to around the middle of October, we welcome thousands of international tourists, especially the cruise ships from Europe and from the United States. And for talking about weather, I know I have a little chat with Peter earlier. He was a little curious about what's the weather like here. We don't live in igloo. I know it's Canada. We do get some snow in winter time because we're the northern part of country. But in general, Nova Scotia pretty mild. We are actually the second warmest place in Canada. The first warmest place, you know that it's Vancouver, and the second one will be Nova Scotia. The reason why is because we're surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, and the ocean really adjusts the temperature and humidity level for here, so you don't really get dry and very extreme winter time. Instead, you get some more mild, more rainy winter. You can see that the temperature here is not too bad in terms of a Canadian province. Winter, the temperature, usually goes about from -9 to around 0 degrees. Sometimes it goes above because the global warming, you're going to see the winter become more and more warm recently. Autumn and spring are my favorite season because you basically just go out with a t-shirt and a hoodie on top of the t-shirt and you're really good to go. Summertime, right now we are having some hotter summer than before. Like I said, global warming. This year we have a lot of days that the temperature that were above 30 degrees, but normally summertime the temperature goes around 25-ish degree, which is very, very nice. And in wintertime, basically every indoor place will have AC, which is heat. So people really don't have to worry about the temperature being too cold because you're basically indoor in wintertime, either working or entertaining with your friends or attending school. Below are some pictures of the beautiful scenery of Cape Breton Island. I just want to give you guys a sense of what I'm talking about because this particular place is being the top one tourism destination. And we are a place that produces the lobster. So if you or any of the student is a food lover or foodie, this is a great place for you to enjoy Nova Scotia lobster. And our lobster is one of the very important export products that go abroad to basically a lot of countries every year. And this is one of the most famous golfing places here in Cape Breton Island. This is a very famous Cabot Trail Drive here in Cape Breton Island. This is another award-winning distillery. They produce the single wine whiskey, I would say, here and on Cape Breton Island. And this is just a capture of what our graduation ceremony looks like. So let's narrow down the scope and take a look at CBU. I basically summarize all these little fun facts or selling points about CBU. We are a small to medium-sized university. I know some university in Canada, they have a population around 80,000-ish people. We don't have that many students on campus because we are categorized and considered by our provincial government as a small to medium-sized, primarily undergraduate institution. That's basically what we have been defined as. So we have a cap for the entire population. Right now, after pandemic, we have around 5,000 full-time students studying on our campus. We definitely lost the 500 because of the pandemic. A lot of people were not able to travel here. And among the 5,000 full-time students, right now we have around 2,100, which is 2,100 international students here, and they come from around 56 different countries around the world. We have the largest investment in student services compared to any other Canadian institutions. We are the first energy self-efficient campus in North America. So in times where some other schools, they have, say, power outages in wintertime because of the snowstorm or windstorm, it generally does not happen for CBU. So we don't, our student doesn't really have that many excuses to escape from class. because we are very energy self-efficient. So we have our own generator. And we were first actually established back in 1951. And back in that time, we were a satellite campus of San FX University. And then with the population growing and the economy grows, we have become an independent and degree granting institution and switched our name to Cape Breton University in 1974. And like I mentioned earlier, we have the largest investment in student services compared to any other Canadian universities. That's why, very obviously, we have one of the highest student satisfaction rates in Canada among the 96 universities Canada has. And CBU, there's another perk of studying here is that we have relatively some of the smallest class size in the country in terms of the teacher and student ratio. Back in many years ago, when I was an international student at CBU, in the first year and second year in general classes, you might see around 30 to 40-ish people in the first 2 years of undergrad classes. But when you enter into upper year classes, which is around the year 3 or year 4, you'll see your class size significantly shrink. The smallest class I have ever attended was in my first degree, was in the Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism. I was attending a course called Management in Diversity, and that was my final year course in undergrad. And the class size was only 5 people, including our professor. The benefit is that your professor really gets to know you really well. And then he will tailor the speed of the delivery, or he'll tailor the content to how do I say, to better accommodate your your overall strength and ability. And the professor had very deep connection with each one of the in the class. And in fact, when I graduated from my first degree, I started to look for jobs, and I didn't really have much job work experience in Canada. I didn't know a lot of people, which is normal for international graduates. So I turned to this particular professor and asked for a reference letter. And he wrote a very long, detailed, complete, personal reference letter for me. I was really, really grateful. So I handed over the reference letter to one of the place I have interviews. And then the employer looked at the reference letter, and she was shocked because the reference letter described me very well, and it seems like the professor and I had really, really close relationship, and basically all the things he wrote was very, very positive, which is great. So I got my first job thanks to my professor's reference letter. I want to cite this example is because I know a lot of younger kids, they have like ambitions and dreams. They want to go to a big name university such McGill, UBC or U of T. There's nothing wrong about that. They're great, great prestigious university. The thing is that not everyone has a very strong ability to build a very deep, meaningful a connection with people around them or with professors, especially when you're in Canada. And if you are a business student, particularly, you need to expand and develop your personal network so that you will find a better job in the future, right? It's just that in smaller institutions like CBU, your professor, your instructor, even the coordinator within the academic department or the school really know you well. When they think about something, for example, an interesting job opportunity, they might think about you because we have smaller student population, and basically people knows each other well, so that they will love to hand over the opportunity to you and connect our student with their future employer for like work placement or for the postgraduate work opportunity, which in terms kind of enable students to find a better job in a more shorter time. I think that's one of the perks I find being in a smaller community and smaller institution. And the last but not the least, we're highly ranked as the best teaching, instruction, and entire education experience institution in the ranking of all Canadian universities. And these two are very typical scene that you're gonna see at classes at CBU. You're gonna see we don't really have giant classroom. We probably only have like 2 or 3 great halls where it holds around 200 or 300 people. That's it. And these are basically used for like presidential speeches, not used for like general classes. So for regular classes, people are attending smaller classrooms like this or that, where you get to see there's only a dozens of people, and this is the dean of our Shannon Business School. He was also delivering accounting classes as well. You will have a lot of in-class interaction with your peers, your classmates, and your professor. And at the end of each semester, basically a lot of school or different faculty, they invite guest speakers from the industry. For example, I was a business student. Back in 2019, I was working there by then, but back in 2019, the Dean of Business School, so George, he invited the Vice President of Huawei from Canada to CBU as a guest speaker to deliver speeches and lectures for our business school students. Whereas this picture is from another university, sorry. I'm not going to say the name of the university, but for undergrad classes, you're basically attending a concert-like classes, which one class can contain around 200 or 300 people. And your professor will need a microphone standing in the center of the hall and deliver the class. And he probably didn't really know who you are. And you don't really have to show up in the class because they probably don't know even if you skip the class. And you will get lesser interaction with your peer and your professor because everyone's busy and they have too much population. So for study options at CBU, like I mentioned earlier, we are defined by the government as a primarily undergrad institution, meaning that the majority of degrees that we're offering are in the undergraduate ranges. That being said, we do offer MBA for international student at the moment. There are 2 other master degrees, our Master of Education. They're not open for international students at the moment, but if you do have students that they have a Canadian permanent residency and want to apply for Master of Education, please do let Brighton know, and we can discuss the case individually. And besides MBA, we do offer post-baccalaureate diplomas in the graduate level studies, and I'll talk about that in more details later. And besides all these, basically all of our undergrad programs accept transfer credit students, meaning that student can transfer within Canada from, say, another university or from a college. The student can transfer internationally as well. So student can transfer from, say, a local university in Da Nang from Vietnam, or student transfer from another local university in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh within Vietnam, with or without articulation agreement. The only thing is that if we have articulation agreement, for example, we have the 2+2 articulation agreement with Ho Chi Minh City University of Technology in BBA, and BBA, which is Bachelor of Business Administration, and the Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism Management. And we have another 2+2 AA with, I don't know how to say this name, I'm trying to pronounce, so Udon University and the Bachelor of Business Administration, is that once we have such agreements, whatever credits and course mappings were done beforehand, so students will have very clear idea of how many courses and how many credits they will be awarded at CBU. Whereas for regular international transfer students, their transfer credit assessment will be accessed by our admission team case by case. So that I cannot really guarantee or predict exactly how many credits they will be awarded. However, we accept basically transfer credits from every country. And the transfer credit assessment is a free service now permanently for every student. And this is a glance of all the degree they're offering for all international students. I will share this document later so you don't have to take screenshot or take notes anyway. And then we'll keep going. For general admission requirements, these slides basically talk about the general admission requirements for all the undergraduate programs. The numbers you're seeing here, they are in Canadian grading system. So for the majority of undergraduate program, we need students a high school transcript, meaning that we need grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. But it's the only grade 12 transcript and their grades and average will be the only determining factor of whether they will be accepted or not. And we require a minimum overall average in terms of grade 12 of grades for student transcript. And there are particular, how do I say, admission requirements for different programs. For example, every single program we require a student to have, grade 12 English, a majority of programs, except for the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Arts Community Study, we require a student to have grade 12 level maths. And then for engineering or science subjects, we require a student to have grade 12 level 2 science courses, or they just apply for example, a business school, we just require any other 3 grade 12 level courses, making it 5 courses would be good. And 65% in Canadian grading system, I have a cheat sheet here. So converted to the regular Vietnamese high school will be around 6 in a scale of 10. And the 75% will be converted into the Vietnamese grading system, around 7.5 in a scale of 10. But if any of your students is coming from international school, for example, American high school or Canadian high school from Vietnam, their grading system aligned with CBU. So we just look at their grades without any conversion. We only do conversion for student applying to CBU from a regular Vietnamese high school. And if students do not meet the language requirement, we basically require IELTS academic 6.5 overall with no single band below 6. And these aligns with basically every public institution in Canada. Student can apply to ICAP Nova Scotia. They are all exclusive on-campus EAP training partner here, located on our campus. And that's just something about our admission requirement for undergrad. For MBA admission requirement, I'll talk about that a little bit in details when I'm at the MBA page. But MBA is more of case-by-case scenarios. So if you by chance have MBA lead, I will strongly recommend you send over the leads so that we can provide a free preliminary assessment for particular MBA applicants. And these slides talk about our scholarship and bursaries because I'm only given 60 minutes. I'm not going to talk about that into details. You guys can look at all these requirements when I do the slide sharing later. And let me know if you have any questions after going through the details. So right now we have 5 faculties on campus, but the Faculty of Nursing is not open for international applicants at the moment. So I'm going to cover the 4 faculties that are widely accepting international students on our campus for your information. The first one I'm going to talk about would be the Shannon School of Business, because business school right now holds the majority of international students within CBU. So Shannon School of Business offer a couple different degrees. We have the first one I'm going to talk about will be our MBA degree. The full name of MBA is called the Master of Business Administration. And in CBU, our MBA is naturally embedded with a particular major, and the major is called Community Economic Development. So the full name for our MBA program is called MBA CED. It's a 2-year graduate business degree, and with concentrations in First Nations, international business, marketing, peace building and good governance, public administration, and strategic leadership. What does the concentration mean here? You can treat it as a minor. Student can opt for a concentration, or they don't want a concentration. They can just do a general MBA major in CED. If they by chance have a concentration, for example, one of my previous colleagues, Isabella Yuan, she has an MBA degree with concentration in international business. So on her graduation certificate from MBA, it will shows MBA major in CED with concentration in international business. So if student would think about a career field that they are, say, intended to kind of work in, they may want to choose a particular concentration that fits their personal preference. And for the MBA wise, besides the ESL requirement, like I mentioned earlier, we also require a Gmat, because Gmat is a very, how do I say, common and general requirement for basically all MBA degrees around the world. GMAT requirement at CBU is not very hard. We're at a medium, a more reasonable side. So we need a minimum of 500 GMAT with very balanced score. If students don't have GMAT or couldn't have the sufficient GMAT score, they can also apply to ICAP Nova Scotia, and they have the pre-MBA program for eligible applicants, and students would not have to go through and test for GMAT again before they enter CBU MBA studies. And besides the MBA program, we have the other two undergraduate programs hosted by SSOB. The first one is Bachelor of Business Administration. The other one is Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism Management. I would like to combine these two programs and kind of elaborate my own story with you guys so that I don't make this session long and boring. So since the BHTM and BBA, I'm just gonna call them their abbreviation, all belong to business school at CBU, meaning that a BHTM student, if they want to transfer to BBA, or if a BHTM graduate would like to gain another degree, say in BBA, after their graduation, they could. The fastest track for them is that a BHTM graduate apply to BBA program upon the year they are going to complete their BHTM program, and then transfer every single credit they have learned or have they gained before within their BHTM program to the BBA program, like I did. So in this case, student can gain 2 degrees, not double major, but 2 degrees. One is BHTM, one is BBA within 4 years at CBU because the nature setting of these two programs. The most popular program within our business school right now in undergrad area for Vietnamese student is the Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism Management program. The reason why is because BHTM program offering at CBU is the only 3-year bachelor BHT program offering in the hospitality field in Canada. And I know some other schools also offer hospitality degrees. However, they don't have a mandatory internship embedded in their program. However, in terms of our particular program, our internships are mandatory, meaning that students must complete the internships and write reports, and their internship performance must be graded and evaluated by their employer and by our school academic coordinator, so that they could be able to apply for graduation. And the internships are paid, and they are treated as 9-credit courses here at CBU. So, meaning that a BHTM student at CBU will learn 90 in-course lecture credits, plus 1,080 hours paid internship non-credit courses here at CBU. That will enable the students to build more personal connections in the work field, gain more work experience, offset some of their tuition and living costs here in Canada, and they may be able to find where they really want to work for after graduation. So for example, when I was a student studying the Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism Management, I did my first internship at Grand Hyatt Hotel, and I find Grand Hyatt Hotel was a really, really good employer. So I worked for them for a little while, and it turns out to be really fun and very valuable work experience for me myself. And the other thing is that the Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism Management, this particular program at CBU, we have special agreement with Intercontinental Hotel Group, which is IHG Group. So any one of the hospitality student within this program will, if they do their internship at one of the IHG brand hotel, they get a particular special IHG Academy certificate. So if they want to work for IHG Group in the future after graduation, these particular certificate will be something their future employer to look onto in their resumes. I'm here having some more details about the MBA program, but you guys can read about that later when you have the slides. I'm not going to go into much details about this. Okay, so besides all the undergrad programs, I want to mention about there are 4 post-baccalaureate diploma offering at our Shannon School of Business as well. So post-baccalaureate diploma, I think you guys are more familiar with this particular credential than a couple years before. So it's a unique credential with a French name that offers in a lot of Canadian institutions, and the other popular country that offers this kind of credential is France. So post-baccalaureate diploma, they're considered as graduate level study, which means that the applicants will need accredited bachelor degree from a university. The reason why they're called post-baccalaureate, not a traditional master or MBA, is that post-baccalaureate, there are more hands-on experience, and the course and curriculums are more practical. And they generally have a less number of courses than a traditional master course. Whereas master course, you have both hands-on practical courses and some theoretical, for example, research focused courses. We have 4 different disciplines within the post-baccalaureate diploma at CBU. There are supply chain management. Like I said, we are surrounded by the sea. Supply chain industry is one of the pillar industry here in Nova Scotia. The second one is business management. This will be for students with the intention to work in a nonprofit organization, for example, like CBU, or at Genova, which is an educational organization, or if they want to work for government. The third one, that's the top popular one, is called the business analytics. So basically, it's about learning for big data analysis. And the fourth one was a new one that was added in last year. It's called healthcare management. This particular one will foster students to become the future, for example, manager, supervisor at hospital or any clinical settings here in Canada. And healthcare management actually becomes more popular when we saw the pandemic coming. Especially Canada right now is in labor shortage in both supply chain and basically all healthcare, management and organizations. So we do have a lot of international students and domestic students applying to the healthcare management stream within the post-bac. The second school one I'll talk about will be the School of Science and Technology, because it actually hosts another 2 very popular undergrad program at CBU. The first one is called the Bachelor of Engineering Technology. I'm just gonna call it BET, therefore. It has 3 or 4 year degree. Please ignore the 2-year diploma because it's not very beneficial for international students. So I don't really talk about that. The majority of credential offered within the BET program will be the 3-year program. And we have 4 different majors for students to choose. The first one is electronic and control, and this is the first and only instrumentation degree in Canada in terms of engineering-wide. And the second one is called the BET Petroleum program. And we don't have a lot of, university here in Canada that offer petroleum program as major. CBU is one of them. This one's very, very popular for both domestic and international students as well. The other 2 will be environmental and chemical studies. The other program hosted by the School of Science and Technology is called the Bachelor of Engineering Transfer 2+2 program. This particular program is a collaboration program between us and Dalhousie University. The reason why we want to do such collaboration with them is because the engineering faculty at Dalhousie is very, very hard to get in for domestic student, let alone for international student. It has very strong cap. So if a student wants to apply to Dalhousie University, their chance of being accepted is very, very minimum. But if they are eligible to get into the Dalhousie engineering faculty and then they apply to CBU for this particular Bachelor of Engineering transfer program, and if they're accepted into CBU, they can successfully pass the exams for CBU in the first year and the second year. They will be automatically internal transfer to Dalhousie University for their final 2 years, where the only thing they have to do is relocate themselves from Sydney, Nova Scotia to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And they will be considered as domestic students so that they don't compete with the thousands of international students for the very little tiny amount of seats in the engineering faculty and Dalhousie University. And likewise, this particular engineering degree has different majors for them to choose, but they don't claim their major in the first year of CBU. They'll claim that their major after the 2-year study of CBU. When they start their 3rd year study at Dalhousie University, that's when they start to claim the major they want to concentrate or focus in. And these are the majors offered by Dow at the moment. I want to talk about these two engineering programs, the difference between that. You can see that one is called technology. The other one is just Bachelor of Engineering. So the Bachelor of Engineering Technology credential really, really prepares students to become engineering technologists or specialists in the future. The other one, on the other hand, Bachelor of Engineering, they basically develop students to become a certified engineer in Canada. The difference between these two, I'm trying to use a very simple and easy to understand wording to say is that the certified engineers design things. For example, my iPad here, for the idea and generate a particular product called iPad, you need an engineer to design an iPad and design the chips inside so that you get this product from Apple company. On the other hand, the engineering technologies or specialists, they are the regular engineer that will make sure how this iPad will function and how this iPad will work smoothly for its end users. So if students prefer a more hands-on practical experience, they would aim for Bachelor of Engineering Technology credential. Whereas if a student has strong intention, for example, to pursue academic achievements, for example, they want to get into Master of Engineering, become more, to learn more theoretical knowledges, they want to apply for the Bachelor of Engineering transfer program at CBU and transfer to Dalhousie University. So these will be the two main difference. I believe it will be easier to kind of explain to students and their parents. The other school is called School of Arts and Social Science. I'm not going to talk about much details of this particular school. This is one of the oldest schools in CBU. Actually, we were a liberal arts university when we first established. We have very strong programs in social studies, sociology, political studies for students if they have a strong intention and interest in studying more community-based knowledge, or if they have a strong intention of going to law school in the future. I would recommend them to apply for Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Arts of Community Studies and major in political science. That's basically majority how our students get into law school in the future. Last but not the least, I'm going to cover the school education and health because one of the programs within this particular faculty is also very, very popular, even though pre-pandemic. And the program is called Bachelor of Health Science major in public health. So right now, there are only 5 universities in Canada that offer a bachelor degree in public health area. And CBU is actually the only university among the 4 Atlantic provinces in Canada that offers a Bachelor of Public Health. I know Dalhousie University offers public health, but it's in the master degree. If you want to apply for a master degree in public health, you need an undergrad degree in public health. And that's why a lot of students, both domestic students and international students, come to CBU. This is a very, very, very top popular program in the science area in CBU. And they do have a very strong cap because CBU has a great reputation in the public health area in Canada. And a lot of our public health graduates, they achieve very high score in the Sci-Fi examination. Sci-Fi is an examination where students want to become a certified public health inspector. They will pass this particular exam. So if you by chance have students have intention to apply for the Bachelor of Public Health, please do let me know, preferably at least 6 months prior to they apply to this program. Normally the student applying to this particular program at our institution, they plan their study at least a year in advance because we only have around 150 seats for both domestic and international students per year for the entire program. And it's a little bit hard to get in. But you do get really, really great payback because first, we're a very reputable institution among the public health industry in Canada. And second is that they have pretty strong academic standard for student, student quality and performance. So basically our graduates from public health, they get decent job offers upon their graduation compared to some other programs or offering by other colleges in Canada. And there's another one, basically this is the last program I'm going to cover today. It's called the Bachelor of Science major in nutrition. This is a very hot topic recently, especially I know after pandemic, we're trying to pay more attention on eating healthier, trying to do more, how do I say, home cooking, or just simply like people nowadays, we want to pay more attention to the nutrition that we take every day. And if students do have passion to become, for example, a dietitian in the future, a dietitian is a very decent job in Canada. They work in clinical and hospital settings. They can apply for Bachelor of Science in Nutrition. This particular program has strong cap as well. Right now, we only have around 5 international students studying in this particular program, meaning that they have pretty intense competition. They have very purely English-speaking environment. Majority of students studying this program are domestic students, either from Nova Scotia or some from Ontario. And this one is a transfer program as well. So students will spend their first 2 years at CBU studying the general knowledge, and then they would transfer to one of the collaborative institution that we have collaboration with. They could be either the Santa Fe University, they could be either Mount St. Vincent University in Nova Scotia, or they can be the University of Prince Edward Island in PEI. And that's basically about all the academic programs. And this particular slide talk about all the details that we offer for free student services on campus. I'm just gonna name a few, some of the most, I would say popular or the most important ones for international students. And you can basically go through the details of the rest when I have the slide shared. There are career services that's very, very important, and I highly recommend every single international student to visit a career service center at the center of our campus. There are around 5 student placement officers that works at this particular center. Their job is to help students to connect with the industry they are interested in. Their job is to hunt for jobs for our graduates or our full-time or part-time students. And at the Career Service Center, you can make appointments for example, a mock-up interview. You can make appointment for a resume improvement. And these are all free services offered by our staff. So I really highly recommend every student to stop by at Career Services to kind of plan for their future after graduation in Canada. And the other one's first year academic advising center. I know that a lot of students have questions in terms of course selection, so major selection, or they want to have a major and a minor, or double major, or major and double degree, and they might have struggles or confusions about what to do in terms of planning their academic wise. They could stop by at first year advising center or just email them, have an appointment. We have a team of dedicated staff here as well, providing free services in terms of helping students to plan their major, helping them to, some students want to switch program, or simply just they have struggle with their course selections or course registration, and everything can be offered, every question can be offered in terms of some help and support by the first year advising center here at CBU. And there's another one I'm going to talk about is the International Student Study Abroad Center. So once student become a current student at CBU, meaning that they have started their classes and stuff, and if they by chance lost their visa, lost their study permit, or they want to renew or extend their study permit or visa, we have free consultation services offered by our regulated international student advisor at the International Student and Study Abroad Center. So that they could make an appointment with one of our international student advisor and ask a visa, study permit, or immigration policy-wise related questions. They don't take commercial cases, nothing very, very, how do I say, personal. So a student will still have to turn out to their agent or other RCIC agencies for particular immigration, how do I say, handling or submission. The other thing is that we have agreements with some other universities in United States and European countries. So if students are looking for a 1 or 2 semester exchange overseas outside of Canada, they can also stop at this center. They will help you prepare your visa and help you locate the institution student want to go abroad for exchange. And basically, these are just student services. I'm going to kind of name a few. And we also have co-op education programs. So co-op education program is a program a lot of Canadian universities or institutions are having, and this is monitored by the government as well. Co-op program is not a mandatory program. Instead, it's an optional program that's very, very beneficial for students to apply. And for co-op, the difference between co-op and internship is that for internship, student must attend. It's embedded in their program. In co-op, we really need to examine the students, we need to examine the students' academic performance. So for example, a student can only apply to co-op starting in their year 3. We need our student to have at least 70% in average in their year 1 and 2, so that we are able to kind of introduce our student to the industry, the employer, because we want our student to perform really well in the industry as well. And for co-op education, student can study to work term by term, or they can work a co-op term and then come back to study and then work a co-op term. This can be planned with our career service center with one of our student placement officer. These are free services. So if students are having interest in the co-op education program, please talk to one of them. In co-op education program, upon the completion of the co-op education program, student got a particular co-op certificate. And this will be something that Canadian employers or American employers will be really interested in for when they have such certificate, especially for international students where they don't have a whole lot of, personal connection here. An experience in the co-op will be really, really great for them, especially for the job hunting in the future after graduation. So basically, these will be everything I'm going to cover today. I know there are some other details and for like co-op and study permit and work and international center, but you can read all of the information within the slide. So I believe now it's question time. So if anyone has any question, please let me know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Siwei, for your very informative presentation. So for this Q&A question, anyone have the concerns or question, please unmute yourself and raise your question. You are free to give your question in the chat box as well. Okay, I will take a time to raise my question first.
For sure.
Yeah, regarding to the student who would like to transfer the credits, CBU have the team to do the evaluation, the transcript in-house, right?
Sorry, do you mind? I didn't fully follow you. Do you mind repeat again?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, the student who are studying in a college or university in Vietnam can transfer the credits to CBU, and
right.
And CBU has the team to do the evaluation, the transcript, right?
Right. So for transfer credit, how it works is that we recommend student apply to CBU as regular student and get the notice of acceptance, which is offer first, and then apply for transfer credit. Well, they can definitely apply simultaneously. However, the transfer credit team will only review the transfer credit assessment after we know that an offer has been issued to the particular student. And then there's a dedicated different team other than the admission team they'll work on for transfer credit assessment. So student would not really have to do evaluation by themselves or by one of our counselors. And this is a free service offered by enrollment services at CBU.
Yeah, so let me confirm what you mean. Basically, the student will need to do the evaluation after receiving the letter of offers from CBU.
Right. Yeah. And after the assessment and evaluation is done, there will be a transfer credit report issued from our admission for the student in case student need that for visa application purposes.
Yeah, thank you. So we move on to our question in the chat box. The first one is, the CBU offer English program for international students?
We do. Our English, I assume it's the ESL or EAP program. It's offered by our exclusive on-campus training partner. They're called ICAP Nova Scotia. Many of you might have heard about that, but they do have great market exposure as well. So for students who need English training, or for MBA applicants who need Gmat, which is pre-MBA training, they can go through the ICAP NS particular program as per what their needs before entering to CBU. The reason why and benefits that you're going through ICAP is that, so for example, for me, so Shui needs IELTS to go to CBU, but Shui doesn't want to test for IELTS anymore. So I applied to ICAP Nova Scotia, and then I study, say, for example, 2 levels of EAP program that I actually need for my basic overall performance. And then I enter CBU. I do not need to test IELTS anymore. I just enter into whatever program I apply directly. And the same case apply to MBA. So for example, Shui needs pre-MBA because I don't have Gmat, and I'm applying to MBA. And I'm going through the pre-MBA courses at ICAP Nova Scotia. After that, I just go to my MBA studies. I do not need to submit another Gmat test score.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and the next question regarding to the co-op programs, are there any co-op programs for graduate students?
We don't have our in-house co-op programs for graduate students. I don't think any Canadian university except one, I'm not going to say the name, has co-op program for the MBA student, because for graduate level student, we have assumed that they have some levels of work experience from the past. But we offer help from within our business school for graduate level or basically any student. For example, besides the, campus-wide, job fair, basically we hold it twice or 3 times annually. Shannon School of Business, they will have their particular own personal networking or social events within the school of Shannon School of Business. Normally, they invite CBU alumni or experts from the industry, or like I mentioned, guest speakers. Like previously, we have the vice president from Huawei as guest speaker to the Shannon School of Business to deliver lectures or having coffee chat or like social communications. So students will really have more chances. In North America, we call it coffee break. So in those social events, you will be able to introduce yourself to one of the industry experts, because they could be very well chance to become your future employer in the future. And students would have offer and help from these kind of events, but not particularly from a co-op program.
I see. And okay, we have the question regarding to the living expenses. Yeah, do you have the slide to talking about this information?
I don't have a particular slide because I find living expenses to fluctuate in times. For example, the housing prices in Halifax, I'm just going, sorry, I mean, no offense to Halifax, it's a great city, but the housing price in Halifax before pandemic, if you're looking to rent a 2-bedroom apartment, you're probably paying around $1,500. Now, after the pandemic, if you are trying to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Halifax, the renting price is very close to Toronto. You're looking at around 2,500 Canadian dollar per month for a renting place in Halifax. Whereas in Sydney, Nova Scotia, we have less fluctuation in terms of house renting prices. It definitely has increased a little bit, but somewhere stays around 1,200-ish per month. And for transportation wise, I forgot to mention that we have our own airport in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and the airport is only 5 minutes drive from our campus. So a typical commute route will be a student fly to Toronto. That's what we recommend, or Montreal, normally Toronto. So a student fly to Toronto, and then they board on a connecting flight from Toronto, and then fly directly from Toronto to Sydney, Nova Scotia. And the domestic flight will cost about 2 hours and 20 minutes. There's also fly from Sydney to Halifax, which is around 30 minutes, but majority of people would drive or take a shuttle bus. And from Toronto fly to Halifax is about 2 hours. So it's pretty close. And since we have an airport and we have a connection with major North American cities, so if student wants to travel during the holidays, they can fly from here to say Boston, New York, or fly to the UK or Germany from Halifax airport. So it's pretty convenient in terms of transportation, not bad. Let me see about the living expense in Sydney compared to other cities, namely Halifax. When I was doing the comparison earlier, I basically compared to Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, because these three cities are basically the top cities I find international students will kind of think about when they talk about Canada. And the living price in Toronto and Montreal, they're pretty crazy right now, around 3,000-ish per month in terms of renting. I would say for other living, for example, car insurance, grocery, they're very, very similar in basically everywhere in Canada, but renting is just the biggest one, biggest expense anyone needs to kind of pay. And for Halifax wise, we are still a lot cheaper in terms of accommodation than in Halifax, especially after the pandemic, like I said. And what kind of popular part-time jobs international students can seek here? That's a good question. Thank you. I'm going to say, how do I say? If I assume, because majority of our Vietnamese students, they speak very well English. We have around 110 Vietnamese students studying on our campus at the moment. They have a strong Vietnamese community, and they have a fan page on Facebook. So if you search CBU Vietnamese Society, there's a fan page, and then you can request to go in. Sometimes they have live concerts on Facebook. It's very, very cool. I would say for the majority of Vietnamese students and some international students, I find they will work part-time jobs wise, they will work on campus. So for example, myself, I was hiring an assistant for myself earlier this year, and then I received a lot of resumes. And not only me, some of my colleagues or other departments, they might hiring, for example, research assistant, they might hiring the marketing or social media coordinator. We need student ambassadors basically all year round. We need many of them. Sometimes student union will have some jobs posting, for example, the culture coordinator. And right now we have 3 Vietnamese students working in our student union, and our vice president of CBU student union is from Vietnam. Her name is Mandy, and she studies in the Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism program, which is awesome. And for off-campus wise, the most popular jobs, I think, for money-wise and the environment-wise, I personally would recommend students to work in retail industry. For example, you can work in the Bay, which is the famous mall here in Canada. You can work in the cosmetic products, counters, or you can work in the clothing department, because you do get okay pay, and plus your working environment is clean and safe. Plus, you really, really get to know a lot of people in terms, because you need to kind of sell products to customer, and you improve your oral English significantly throughout the years that you work there. But I personally find on campus, research assistant or department coordinator will be the most popular jobs for our students. I hope I answered this question. And the last one I'm seeing here is, how long does it take to process the NOA transfer credit procedure? Right now, the standard processing time for international LOA is about 2 weeks. I know it's not at the top range of Canadian university, because we are a smaller team, we are a smaller university, but about 2 weeks you'll be hearing from us. Sometimes it's quicker. I would say around 10 days, but I would just give out 2 weeks just to be safe. And after the 2 weeks, they will start looking at a transfer credit procedure. The transfer credit procedure for international transfer will take slightly longer, because they need to verify the credential of the student's previous academic. So about 4 weeks in terms of transfer credit procedure. For domestic transfer credits, for example, a Vietnamese student transferring from a Canadian colleges to Canada to CBU, it might only take 2 or 3 weeks because Canadian education systems are pretty familiarized by everyone in the mission team. Yeah. And does the school offer nursing courses for international students? Unfortunately, we don't offer nursing courses for international students at the moment. Yeah, sorry, but student can apply to the Bachelor of Public Health first, and then seek internal transfer from public health into the nursing department. This is the most, I would say, approachable pathway that I would recommend for international students, as I have personally seen there were international students accepted by nursing department from public health after the first year. But that really depends on how students' academic performance is and how many students would drop out from the nursing faculty, because nursing faculty is pretty strict in terms of the academic performance. And we are one of the best nursing schools in Nova Scotia. So the nursing school is very, I would say, competition intensive. And I would suggest to applying to public health. Other than that, I really can't comment much on that. I really hope that the nursing department will open for more international students. And that's what we are fighting for at the moment. And if we have any good news, I'll share with everyone. Any more questions?
Hi, Siwei. The Bachelor of Hospitality and Tourism Management takes 3 years to complete. And this program also requires students have to over 1,000 hours for internship, right? Is this internship time included in 3 years?
Yes, it does. So at CBU, we have 3 semesters throughout the year. That's why students can technically complete the entire hospitality program in 3 years. I'll cite myself as an example. I'm just going to tell you guys about the year I entered school. Don't judge. So I entered the hospitality program in 2011 in September. I then studied full-time from September to December and all the way till 2013. And then I complete 2 of my internships together. So at the end of 2013, which is 2 years after I entered the school, at the end of 2013, I complete all the in-lecture courses. So I don't have any more lecture to attend. And by 2014 August, I complete all the required hours of my internship. And I was able to graduate in the graduation ceremony in October 2014, which is around exactly 3 years time, including the internship. So the internships are divided into 2 sections. One section is 540 hours, the other section is 540 hours. The reason why it's divided into 2 sections is that students are required to write reports and evaluation forms for each section and to be graded. You can combine the 2 sections together, it's up to you, or you can divide them separately. The most popular times for our students to apply and hunt for internship will be during the summertime, because Nova Scotia is a very popular tourism destination. And especially in the summertime, there will be a lot of job openings in the resorts, hotels, luxury bars, casino, and high-end restaurants. The perks of being working in a great hotel or a high-end restaurant or trendy bars is that besides your pay getting from your employer, you're getting a lot of tips. And the tips are usually in cash, and these are not taxable. So just some fun facts, a student can gain actually some additional extra money during the summertime if they hunt for internship. And I was a little bit more stupid because I hunt for my internship in the winter time, so I do not get that many tips. So I would really advise the student right now, go for internship in the summertime, you get more money.
And may we know how much do the student can earn an hour for the internship?
It depends. So if you student, I would personally recommend student to go to apply for jobs in resorts and higher end hotels, not in the housekeeping department, especially in the marketing department, guest service department, or the banquet department, because your minimum wage will be slightly higher in these departments. Right now, I would say, because I have a friend working Weston in Halifax. So right now, a part-time employee working at a front desk, you are looking to get around $14.95, so around 15 hours, a minimum pay for 15 per hour, which is a lot higher than the minimum pay. And if you're working in banquet department or you're working in a trendy restaurant, besides the minimum pay, especially during the holidays or long weekends, sometimes your guests would tip you, and they would give you, some for like Chinese that red envelopes or other just small tips. So there is some invisible money that you get besides your general salary. And this is my personal advice for students. But for student applying to some other jobs, for example, casino, you get a lot of night shifts and there's a lot of great tips as well. But I personally would really recommend our students to apply for resorts and hotels.
Great.
So I don't see any other question here. So I'm hoping that my session is informative and helpful for everyone. If you have any questions, just feel free to leave in the chat box now. I'm just gonna give it for another minute or so. Nope.
Okay. So.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so it seems we don't have any other question. So thank you so much, Sequan, for your wonderful presentation. And we hope that with this kind of helpful information, we will recruit the student more for CBU and Nova Scotia area.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter, for hosting such a great event. Thank you, Becky, for organizing everyone here. So I hope to see you guys in the future if I have more live sessions. And thank you everyone for having me today. And I hope you guys all have a great day and have a lovely weekend ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good night, see you. And yeah.
Thank you. See you. Keep in touch.
Yes. Yeah.
Bye.
Keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.